Hey everybody. So I am about to take off for the day, doing some final preparations, both today and tomorrow because early Friday morning I'm pulling out and I'm leaving Kentucky. The game plan is to go to New Jersey to see a good friend of mine who happens to be the founder of the Rebel Legion Costume Club, Ed. He's a great guy, wonderful guy. I've been friends with him. Um, since probably like late 2014, I think. Uh, Definitely 2015. Um, and I know that because 2015 was when my grandfather passed away, and 2015 is when I went to Galacticon as a member of the Black Star Squadron Costume Club, which is a Battlestar Galactica old the original series Battlestar Galactica Costume Club. So I'm gonna go see my buddy. Um, I say I'm a lot. I don't know why. I just rabbit trailing. At any rate, I'm gonna go see Ed, and then I'm gonna go to Philadelphia because why not? It's on the way. I did it again. um, it's on the way to see a good friend of mine, Clyde, outside of Philadelphia. Clyde and I have been friends since, gosh, I don't really remember when I first affiliated with Cobra's Finest. It was probably 2009. Um, 2010. No, it had to have been 10 or 11, somewhere in there. I know that my G.I. Joe Costume Club era was started because of Clyde. The story behind that there is that Clyde costumed as Breaker, who is a communications expert from the G.I. Joe side. And at the time, Cobra's Finest was Cobra only, and there was no Joe Club. For the Joes, right? So, in a sense, there was no like if the 501st on the Star Wars side was for the bad guys, the Rebel Legion was for the good guys. We didn't have that in G.I. Joe at the time. We didn't have a G.I. Joe side and a Cobra side, what have you. So, but they let all of us who were G.I. Joes play with them, but we weren't really officially them, if that makes any sense. Clyde had asked for his, when he got to, when would he receive his Cobra's Finest patch, and it was politely told to him that, well, you're not a Cobra, so you're not really a member. We just let you play here. I had piped up and said, what's it going to take to get a Joe Club? And the response was, someone just has to do it. So 6 weeks later, I did it again. G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero Costume Club, opened its doors on Sunday, April 24th, 2011. That was Easter Sunday. And the heart and soul of that club really was Clyde. It was because of Clyde. It was for Clyde. It was for people like Clyde to give them a home. And I was so proud of our achievements because at the end of the year, and we only had like eight, we started in April, and by the end of the year, 8 months later, we had 13 members, which is huge because that was the original lineup of the 3 3/4 action figures. The very first year they were released, there was 13 of them that was released, so I thought that was pretty cool. At any rate, so I'm going to go see Clyde. I'm going to go see Alan, closer to Pittsburgh. I'm going to go see my Kennedy cousin. There's a story about that too. In Columbus. Um, this was a guy that I met in the Army 30 years ago, almost 30 years ago. I didn't get to stay in. We were both discharged at the same time for medical reasons. Um, and he had Kennedy written on his name tape. And I was like, the smartass that I am, I was like, hey, are you related to the Kennedys? And he, for whatever reason, he told me later, he's like, normally he doesn't tell people that he's related to the Kennedys, but he said, yeah. And I was like, me too. And then we got to chit chatting and whatnot. So I got a hold of him recently, and I'm going to drop in at the bar that he owns. So if you're in Columbus area, Fat Baxter's, yeah, that's my boy's bar. So um, go pay a visit to Dustin and his wife. They own this bar. Give them some love. I don't drink. I haven't drank in 22 years, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop in and maybe I'll get me some bar food or something. But I want to go in and see him and say hi because it's been, 30 years. And then from there, it's seeing my cousin, my second cousin in Illinois. Haven't seen her since 1986. So that's a long time overdue. So I'm going to go see her. And then after that, it's um, going through Missouri. I got to stop in and see Thad because I promised him I would. And the fact I can save myself a night of lodging, having to pay for a motel because he'll put me up. Newsflash that Thad, I'm coming and you're gonna put me up because you did last time. Thank you, by the way. I do want to go to St. Joe and I want to see Jesse James home before I take off. And then after that, if I could swing it, I would really like to go to Fort Leavenworth and go see Lainey, who is she's like one of my kids. Like her oldest sister is my adopted daughter. I mean, like I've claimed her ever since she was little. In fact, I claimed all those kids that they're mine, even though they're not. Lainey, I am so proud of you, sweetheart. I don't know if you'll ever see this, but I couldn't be prouder. You know, the the things that you've gone through in life and you've overcome and you've achieved so much. You're a lieutenant in the United States Army. You're a military policeman, and you know, I couldn't be prouder. I really couldn't. And so I'm really gonna try to see her. And then the next stop is Fullerton. So anyone has seen in my other videos, I stopped in Grand Island when I came out this way. And Grand Island was the Grand Island, Nebraska. That was the hometown of my grandfather. He grew up there. Well, Fullerton is the hometown where my grandmother grew up, and it turns out that um, my great great grandfather, my grandfather's grandfather, who is the Kennedy. That's how I'm related to the Kennedy family. Uh, he is buried in Fullerton, so I'm going to go and pay my respects to my great great grandfather. And had I known I was that close, because for some reason I'd always thought that um, great great grandpa James was buried in Montana for some reason. I don't know why, but the fact that he's in Nebraska that's even better yet, because then I can actually go. That was another bucket list thing that I've always wanted to do in my life, was to go visit his grave. So I'm going to go visit his grave. And my mom and I were talking just yesterday, and she was saying how um, I'm really uh, stocking up the memories. I'm really building up the memories of this return trip, and that's kind of like that's part of the adventure right there. I mean, the adventure coming out here was amazing. I got to see all the things I wanted to see, do all the things I wanted to do, and it was on my time and on my agenda, and I wasn't under anybody else's timetable but my own. And it's going to be the same thing going back. The other nice thing about going to see Ed in Jersey is like he is so close to West Point, and anyone who knows me, like, I'm pro Army. I always have been. I always will be. Um, but there's the historical side of that, and you all know that I am a huge history nut. And West Point was originally if I'm understanding right, it was originally like a fort, a base, right? That the traitor Benedict Arnold was in command of. Um, he was going to hand it over to the British because he grew out of frustration. He was kind of pissed off at the colonial government. Um, there was an issue of his name had been besmirched, and he'd spent a lot of money trying to exonerate his name. And when it was exonerated, he was out all this money, and he was expecting the Continental Congress to pay him what was due to him. And when George Washington broke it to him that, hey, pal, we're broke. We're fighting a principle, not for money here, but you will get paid when you get paid, and just be, hey, I'm in the same boat with you. I'm not getting paid either, but this is liberty is a worthwhile principle. His vanity and his ego got to the best of him, and then he decided he wanted to switch sides. Well, the liaison that he was working with uh, um, John Andre, I think was the guy's name. He was caught as a spy, and eventually he proved very valuable intelligence wise, because he provided a lot of information to the colonials. But at the end of the day, he was still executed as a spy. Not something I really agree with, but because of his information, he was. That's how they found out about Arnold. And Benedict Arnold had defected to the British, but the British never really respected him, because how can you really respect someone who's turned on your own kind just to appease us? He ended up living the rest of his days in England, but he was kind of an outcast, really, and some would say that he deserved that traitor's death, being a social outcast, and really, he had no home. He had no home in the Americas. He had no, in the colonies, he had no home. He really didn't have a home in Britain. I mean, they let him live there, but they never let him be a citizen or anything like that. At any rate, I'm rabbit trailing. Sorry. Uh, West Point. Not only is it at the military officers academy now, but it has its historical roots to the Revolutionary War, which is the beginning of our nation. The founding of our nation, and that is really huge for me. And it's going to be especially um, huge for me to be able to see West Point, as well as go see the Liberty Bell and maybe Constitutional Hall, Independence Hall, whatever they call it. No. I'll, I mean, it's going to be cool to go get me a Philly cheesesteak when I'm in Philly, because I'm going to get me an honest to God Philly cheesesteak, and I've been told there's 2 places I need to go check that out. I will. Um, and then there's the Rocky Balboa statue, because why not? But for me, it's the historical stuff that I really want to see. And then to see my friends too on my way home. And then when I get home, it's going to be back to the grind of trying to eke out a living and find my way in this world and do whatever it is that I can do. And the divorce really kicked the crap out of me. I'm not going to lie. Coming out here was supposed to be a season of healing, a time and place for that. And there are times when I'm like, but did it really do me any good? And I think there were times that, yeah, I mean, I made some really amazing friends at, Home Depot and at Plasticon. And, I mean, these were really cool people. I'll never forget them. But on the flip side, it's, where I lived out here and some of the issues that I faced living here that, I don't want to go into it, because, I mean, at the end of the day, it was 2 brothers that were friends of mine that offered me a place to stay, and I can't forget that. I can't forget that kind of generosity. Excuse me. Um, they didn't have to open up their home to me, and they did. And they didn't have to say, brother, no questions asked, come on out, because they did. The other mundane things of living with others, that tends to happen. And I've found that the older I get, the crankier I get, and the more I'm just not a people person. Like I'm, to quote Brock Lesnar, if anyone knows that he was a UFC fighter, and now he's is a WWE wrestler. He's been quoted as saying, like, why he lives in solitude where he lives. It's a private solitude. It's because he doesn't like people. He hates people. Right? He does the job and then he goes and does his thing, but for the most part, he just hates people. And I'm finding I'm getting like that more and more. I really don't like living with people. I can handle people in small doses, but really it's like I'm kind of antisocial sometimes, but I'm not like, so antisocial that I'm going to be like, oh, we got to be careful of that guy. He might snap and go postal or something. I'm, not that. It's because I have idiosyncrasies that irritates the shit out of people. And likewise, people have idiosyncrasies that just irritate the crap out of me too. So it's like, you know, I, as much as I hate being alone. At the same time, I kind of prefer um, being in a situation where I'm not pissing somebody else off and nobody's pissing me off, if that makes any kind of sense whatsoever. Now, but on the flip side of that, we live in the real world, and the real world requires, I mean, unless I'm a millionaire and I can afford to be a recluse and, like Howard Hughes, and live alone, the reality is that when I go home, I'm going to be living with people because I have to be. Um, I'm going to live with, basically whoever will take me in for the short term until I can find my own place, or move in with somebody and share rent, that sort of thing. So, this has been kind of like a rambling video. It's about a day and a half out before I leave Kentucky. And the whole purpose of this video was to say, I'm going to go run into Radcliffe, Kentucky right now. I'm going to go to Fort Knox, to go see the George Patton Museum. And I'm going to knock that off my list of things to do before and get some final stuff for preparation of moving. I want to get me a couple bins so I can pack things more efficiently, and some other stuff, odds and ends, that I need to get prepared. Tomorrow is Thursday, the 30th. Today's the 29th. Today is actually the 37th anniversary of my stepdad passing away. And it's a beautiful day, and I'm trying not to dwell on the negative, but at the same time, I'm kind of, not doing okay because I'm not home to go to Dad's grave and tell him how much I miss him. And that these last 37 years have been hard without him. Yesterday was the anniversary of Grandpa passing, and it's hard to believe that it's been 8 years since my grandfather passed away, because it seems like it was just yesterday. And all my all my male mentor role models are kind of dropping off. Like, I don't have too many of them left. But that's the circle of life, right? Where, I mean, I'll be 48 next month, and that's, midlife there, midlife crisis, whatever it is. But at any rate, this has been a very long video. This is the longest video that I've ever posted, because I'm going on 18 minutes now, and I'm sorry for the rant and ramble and all that. But I think I told you all that I was probably going to be posting more videos, because, I mean, why not? I mean, the stuff gets monetized when you get, just over 1,000 hours of content, and, if you have 1,000 subscribers, which I'm nowhere near that, but it's like, why not? Why not? I like to speak my mind. I like to talk. So, and I don't know if there's anyone out here who really gives a shit about what I have to say, or what I think, or what I do. I don't know. It's, in a lot of ways, just, I think, sure, some people do the vlogging thing just to, make a quick buck, or as a Maya at Home Depot, well, I'm going to be TikTok famous. I don't know if it's, they're enamored with the glitz and glam, or whatever. Or some people like me, I think it just helps to talk. What's on your mind, get that stuff off your chest. And because I bottled a lot of stuff up for many, many years, and that's probably why I'm the way I am. And maybe if I had a positive outlet to release that energy, that negative energy, maybe that was the way I should have been doing it, instead of drinking all those years and bottling stuff up those years after, and just being a, colossal jackass like I am. I don't know. The thing is, when I see something interesting, I think I want to share it with the world. And when I have a thought process to work through, and maybe that's what I'll do. I don't know. I just know that the big reason for these videos really was that when I left Oregon, it was to ensure that you all who are watching this, that you knew that I was doing okay, and that if you didn't hear from me, then you knew, well, we knew that he was here at this point, and we know that he was going to here to this point, so he's somewhere in between, and that's where you go look for him. It'd be too little too late, because I'd probably be dead by then, but sorry. The point is that um, I'm chronicling the adventure, and I'm getting started early. This whole week has kind of been a preparation week for the adventure of going back home, and I have, like I said, I met some very cool people out this way, and I'll never forget you guys. So I went to just outside of Nashville Sunday and saw my friends that I hadn't seen in years. Went to the Alvin York farm the next day, which was Monday, and that was an amazing experience. We didn't get a chance to go to the grave because we thought we had to get Bruce back home to, for work. And come to find out, we had the time, we could have, but where we were, it's such a dead zone, cell phone wise, that he wasn't able to call into work to check his schedule. And had he been able to call in sooner, we could have gone to the grave. But c'est la vie. It just means that I guess I just got to come back to Kentucky at some point in the future again, right? Because I was going to go to the Corvette factory tour, and I just really couldn't justify the $50 for the admission. Not when I could use that $50 to get me down the road going home. So there's that. So I babbled long enough, and the original intent of this was to tell you that I'm going to go to the George Patton Museum. That's where I'm heading right now. So, but, I guess it's therapeutic in a way to just tell people what's on my mind. Whether you care, whether you don't, I don't know. It's there. If you like the video or don't like the video, if you like my channel or you don't like my channel. See, I don't want to be those clowns that are like, click the button, subscribe, share, blah 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 blah. All they're doing is they're pining for extra hits on their channel, and they do that so that they can get paid by YouTube. I really don't care. All right, if you like it, you like it. You don't, you don't. And I'm not telling you have to one way or the other. I don't care. That's why you've never seen me in any of my videos say, click the link, click the, the subscription, click the whatever, blah, 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 blah. I've never done that, and I never will. Well, that's the plan anyways, that I never will. Because, they say you should never say never. At any rate, so I have babbled long enough, and if you have managed to stay here, this is 23 minutes now. Congratulations. You have endured my gift of gab. So, and there I go, doing the element thing again. So I'm going to kick off now, because I'm going to head on down the road, and I want to go check out this museum and get some things, come home and start doing some, much needed preparation. And we'll go from there. So until I could find a better catchphrase, happy trails.